Honestly, it could be speaking in front of a live video like this, but I'm talking primarily about musical performance because I'm a violinist and my specialty is to help musicians feel better and play better. So if we haven't met yet, I'm Jennifer Roig-Francolí. I am the creator of The Art of Freedom for Conscious Living and Masterful Artistry. I've also been a professional musician pretty much all of my life, and I'm the host of the Facebook group called The Musician's Advantage. I offer coaching for especially professional musicians and also group programs for musicians of all kinds, not just violinists, by the way. And I want to say hello to everybody showing up. I see there are people on Facebook. Wonderful. Hello, Facebook. Today I'm also simulcasting to YouTube, so I'm in multiple locations. So if anybody is watching on YouTube, I would love to know so that I know this is working. Okay, so before I dive in, I just want to make sure that you're in the right place. If you're a musician and you want to know about how to relax as a musician in performance, but also in the rest of your life, then you're definitely in the right place. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips on what not to do, which actually might be kind of surprising to you because they could be, kind of mainstream ideas that people think really work. And they might actually work a little bit, but they're not necessarily going to really get to the root of your tension problems. So I'm going to talk about what not to do and also what to do. Okay, so do you want to hear about this? Yes, please. Okay, great. Also, I would love to know what your instrument is if you are a musician. If you can just type in what your instrument is. It's always fun to see who shows up. Most of the people that work with me end up being violinists just because that's what I do. But I also work with tons of other musicians like harpists, guitarists, pianists, conductors, even all kinds of musicians. So I'm always curious to know what your instrument is and where you're from. Okay, so just type in there. And I'd also love to hear your reactions and about your experience and why this topic is important to you. If you feel like sharing anything, I'd love this to be interactive as much as possible. So I'm kind of looking at the comments at the same time, and I'll keep checking back to see if you have questions also and see if I can address those. Unfortunately, I can't see the names of everybody, so I'm just going to say hello to the guitarist here. I'm very, very happy that you're here, and I'd love to know where you're from. Okay, so let's talk about the problem first. You're here because you want to learn how to relax as a musician in performance, and that kind of implies that you know that you could relax more, which means that you have a certain degree of tension and you know it. That's actually a good thing. We all have tension, just to varying degrees. And some people have no or very little tension. Nobody has no tension, but there are people who have very little tension when they practice at home, and then the tension levels go out the roof when they get in front of an audience. Anybody out there like that? And hello to the person from Cairo. I'm so glad you're here. So when you have tension, it has a lot of ramifications. Okay, so first of all, you're going to have more difficulty with your technique because when your muscles are tense, then it makes it harder for your joints to move. There's actually more compression going on in between your joints and compression in your overall self. And when you have more tension in your body and you can't move as freely, obviously you're not going to be able to move your fingers quite as quickly, and your reaction time is going to be a little slower. So your technique suffers when you are not relaxed in performance. And also, it's a lot harder to access the creative ideas that you want to have ideally as a musician. You want to be able to be in performance and have inspiration hit, right? You want to be able to have amazing ideas on the spot, maybe things you've never even thought of. It's like this idea of the creative muse or a genius muse that comes and gives you this spark of an inspiration. And if you don't have tension, then that inspiration can just flow through your whole system and out your instrument without any impediment, with no blockages. But when you do have excess tension in your body, it's a lot harder to get those ideas through, in a way that is easy, spontaneous, quick, and natural. Now, let me know if you want that. Just put a Y or a yes into the comments if this idea of flowing inspiration without blockages is attractive to you. Just say yes or no. If you don't want this, then you're in the wrong place. Everybody that I work with, musicians, everybody I know, wants that kind of spontaneous freedom when they perform. And we all know that the tension gets in the way of that, right? That's why you want to know how to relax. Well, obviously, if I have tension, I need to learn how to relax, okay? It's also really frustrating if you have been practicing how to relax, you've been doing your meditation and whatever else people have suggested to you, and then you get into a stressful situation and all your old habits come back. Your shoulder tension, neck tension, back tension, it all just hits you again, and you still feel like you can't be yourself on stage. That's really frustrating, right? Right? Yes, I know it is. Can you relate to this? Yeah, I think this is a universal phenomenon amongst performers, not even just musicians, where it's just so frustrating. You do everything that you've been told. You practice learning how to relax. Your teachers have told you your whole life you have too much shoulder tension, too much neck tension, and so you work on relaxing and you feel really good, and then all of a sudden you're in a performance and that person is there, or that critic is there, or something happens with the other musicians you're playing with and you get thrown off. Maybe the conductor is on an adrenaline rush and everything's like twice as fast. Have you ever had that happen? Right? So maybe you get an adrenaline rush, you kind of tighten up and then you want to power through it, but the tension just prevents you from fully enjoying your experience. And then when you're done, you're just really frustrated because you know you can play better. Okay? Yes, we all know this. I'm seeing somebody here saying struggling with a lack of inspiration and dealing with chronic pain makes it extremely difficult. Yeah, and you want to overcome that. Yes, and it is possible. I'm here to give everybody watching hope. Okay, so I've laid out the problem, and I want to just continue just a little bit in that direction so you can really see that this is what you experience. This is what all musicians experience. You are not alone. Okay. And then I'm going to start giving you some solutions. Okay. So what happens if you get frustrated at the end of that performance? You go home and you're like, God, I nail these things at home. How come I couldn't do it on stage? I just can't believe, I was doing great and then I saw that person or this thing happened and I just got thrown off and I'm never going to be good enough to be able to express myself the way I want on stage. Have you ever felt like that? Yeah, just give me a yes if you have. All right, so then what do? You go home and you're like, well, I guess I just need to practice more, right? So I just have to get back at it. Yes and no. Here's the thing. Unless you have a really clear system, first of all, you have to have a really clear understanding of what's going on. Most of us don't. Most people do not understand why this is happening to them over and over again. So what do? They go home and they practice more of what they've already been doing. And that's just not very smart. I'm just gonna be blunt. So then people say, well, okay, I've heard meditation is really good. I've been meditating, truth be told, for basically my whole life. When I was a kid, I was meditating without realizing that's what I was doing. I had a record of Indian music, which I was totally in love with, and I would just listen and kind of meditate for half an hour without realizing that's what I was doing. And then as a teenager, I actually read books and talked to people about more formal meditation. When I was 19, I started meditating 3 times a day, and I haven't stopped. Okay, so I know how to meditate, and meditation is wonderful. It is absolutely essential. It's very important for every area of your life. And yet, I didn't have performance anxiety when I was a kid. I got excited about performing, and I loved it. I did great. But when I was in my 20s, maybe a little bit into my 30s, but mostly in my 20s, things happened in my life. I made certain choices, changed life directions. I kept meditating 3 times a day, and yet I went through a period of a lot of performance anxiety. So meditation is helpful for that, but it is not going to cure your performance anxiety unless you know how to do meditation in a way that is absolutely not taught, very rarely taught. And I want to tell you that I have a system here that I hope you will look into. I'm not going to talk about the actual details right now in this video, but please contact me later if you want to know more about the details of specifically how to do these things. I do teach something, and there's actually even a YouTube video called TheCyCle. Just look up TheCyCle and my name, and you will find a video with the actual first technique that I teach, which is not a meditation per se, but it is meditative. And it's very different from traditional meditation in the sense that you are learning. And here's the key point that I want to make here. Okay, I'm going to pause and highlight this for you. The reason other things don't work, practicing more breathing exercises, meditation, trying to relax body parts, those things work up to a point, but they will not get to the root of your problem. They just won't. They will help you a little bit, and it'll feel good for a while, but you're still going to end up with tension in your body, which can create physical pain, and it can also cause performance anxiety. Okay? So if you really want to get to the root of both pain and performance anxiety, you need a clear system to integrate all aspects of yourself. As I said, meditation is wonderful, but most ways of meditating encourage you to kind of block out your experience of the world. Even when you start closing your eyes, you are blocking out your connection to the world. And there is a time and a place for that. I am not knocking that at all, but I'm talking about if you want to learn how to relax in performance, practicing meditation in a way that blocks out your experience is not going to help you when you're in a situation where you are in the world and you need to be relating to the world and other people out there. It can help, but, and actually some people do that and they swear by that when they kind of put themselves in a bubble and they don't have any performance anxiety. The problem with that is then you're not truly connecting with your audience. You can play great and have a great performance, but you are not fulfilling your potential in the sense of sharing your heartfelt art with the world around you in a direct and communicative way. You just can't do that if you're shutting the world out. I've done tons of workshops with singers in the past, especially when I was on the faculty at the Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. And I remember very well, it's a common thing for singers, for instance, to be in a recital and they've been told to stare at a point in the back of the hall and sing to that point in the back of the hall so that they are not actually even looking at the audience. Well, that can help reduce anxiety, but it is not going to improve your performance. And it is not going to give you that full-bodied, souled, expressive connection in the, just with your whole self. You want to connect with every single person in the audience. That's what great artists can do. And you want to be able to do that in a way that is easy and flowing, natural and spontaneous, right? Okay. So these are some of the things that don't work. The breath work, the meditation in the way that I described, and relaxing body parts, they just don't get to the root of the thing. So what you need is a system that's going to integrate. And let me just tell you, my method, it's called The Art of Freedom for Conscious Living and Masterful Artistry. We very systematically include your purpose, life purpose and small purpose. Like, what do you want to get out of this performance? Like, do you actually want to communicate with people, or do you just want to get through it and not be nervous? Any goal is worthy, but I'm here to help you be the absolute best musician and artist from your heart that you can possibly be. So I want to help you get to your fundamental purpose on the big scale and the tiny, minute moment to moment, really literally moment to moment scale. That minute, you need to know what you're doing and be focused in every single split second. That is what I teach. So we're coordinating the purpose of what you're doing with your mind. You need to be aware of what you're doing with your mind, because every single thought you have, now take this in, every single thought that you have is translated into the body instantly. Your body reflects what's going on in your mind. Most of us have scattered thoughts running around in our minds all the time. It's like your brain is on hyper mode with, like when you're nervous especially, your mind can wander, you can get distracted, and you can be thinking negative self-critical thoughts or worrying about potential negative outcomes. All of those thoughts translate into muscular tension. So you've got to know how to get control of your mind. Then you need to learn how to develop conscious, constructive control of your mind and therefore your body. So that's the third pillar of the Art of Freedom method. We have purpose, mind, body, and then spirit is the fourth pillar, creative spirit. You have to know how to wake up that inspiration, be curious and lively, and have that energy flow through you without getting blocked. That is the spirit part. And, some people think of spirit as God. That works. Some people think of it as creative natural energy. That works too. However you want to think about spirit, we all have it. Okay. So it could just be love. You connect to that spirit and you want to infuse your music making with that to be the best artist you can be. And last but not least, your artistry is the fifth pillar of the Art of Freedom method. Artistry includes everything that you're learning with your technique, your musical expression, phrasing, style, reading music, intonation, sound production, tone quality. All of those things fall under that category. Now, what you practice, you get better at. If you end up with too much tension in performance and you want to be able to relax in performance, you need to be able to practice that way and get really good at playing your instrument in the practice room without excess tension. You need to know how to relax not just your shoulder, your neck, your back, or your fingers, or your wrists. It's not about parts. You need to know how to relax and undo excess tension in your whole self, mind, body, spirit. If you're neglecting any of these aspects, then you're going to get thrown off when the unexpected occurs in a performance. And that's almost every performance, right? You might have traffic on the way to the concert hall. You might have planned ahead the best you could do to be there an hour in advance of the performance. And all of a sudden you're caught in traffic and there's nothing you can do. And you get more and more and more nervous and the tension builds up, builds up, builds up. And if you don't know how to deal with that in the moment, then you're going to bring all that tension as you run to the backstage. You scramble to unpack everything and get out your music and get your rosin on your bow, whatever else you have to do. Or maybe you even still have to get dressed into your concert clothes. You're going to bring all of that mental and physical tension into your performance. Now, I want you to be able to be stuck in traffic, arriving at the concert hall 5 minutes before the performance, or even 5 minutes after if they're holding it for you. If you're the soloist, I don't know. If you're the conductor, they're going to have to give you an extra 5 minutes. So worst case scenario, you show up late to your own performance. I want you to be able to handle that with ease. And you can only do that. You can only do that if you have practiced the things that I'm saying far in advance. And you have to have a system that teaches you how to do this and how to integrate it with your music making. As I said, meditation is fantastic. I will meditate for the rest of my life, God willing. I've been doing it 3 times a day since I was 19. I'm not planning on stopping. But I have found additional resources. I'm also a certified Alexander Technique teacher, and very much, the practical things that I teach my coaching clients and my students in my group classes are based on Alexander Technique principles. But then there are additional things that I've added to create the Art of Freedom method, which brings in the unique demands of musicians and from my lifelong experience of that. So I'm going to hop over to the comments, and don't go away because I'm just going to wrap this up at the end with a few more things I wanted to tell you about, just a little bit more about my story, and again, what to not do and what to do and what next steps that you could take after watching this video. So just going to hop in on the comments I'm seeing here. Oh, and I'm so happy somebody's here from YouTube. That's great. So I'm on YouTube and Facebook. It's great to know that that's working. Technology. By the way, I've been teaching exclusively online since 2018. I love it. It works. Okay, great. This is eye-opening, fantastic, valuable information. I'm so glad you're finding this valuable. And here's someone on Glamour YouTube. Hello. She or he is saying, I want to ask you how to stay effective in practicing the violin. How can you not just get bored for someone who's just learning the violin? My greetings from Indonesia. Wonderful. How can you not get bored? Oh, I'm telling you, if you learn the Art of Freedom method, you will never, ever be bored ever again in your entire life. You know why? Because when you prioritize the curiosity about your own experience in relation to the activities that you're doing, it's always changing, and you're always going to explore and discover new things about yourself in relation to your violin. It's not about learning technique and you know what, you're a beginner, but this is the same information for people like me who've been playing their whole lives. If you are prioritizing your whole self and you are in observer witness mode with the specific steps of what to do that I teach my students, if you are observing and you're doing constructive thinking, which allows the flow to happen, then it's super interesting to find out what's going on when you hear an out of tune note. Then you know what to do. Instead of trying to fix the out of tune note over here, you get really curious about your whole experience, and the out of tune note just fixes itself. And I am not exaggerating. I am 100% for real. This system works based on the Alexander technique and Primal Alexander, which is a very powerful hands-free, no-touch method, which is why I can teach it online. I've been training in that for nearly 5 years, how to teach all of this without touching people. Alexander technique is traditionally taught with touch, but the founder of the technique, FM Alexander, learned all of these things that I'm teaching to my students without ever having been touched by another teacher. As he was the founder, he discovered all these things about how the mind and the body work, and he solved his own performance issue, and then he started to teach other people how to think in a certain way to get certain results in the body and in performance. So how to stay effective when you're practicing, how to not get bored, is you have to find something that you are super curious about that's going to last you the rest of your life, and that is you. Great question. And if you want to know more, please join my Facebook group if you're not a member yet. It's called The Musician's Advantage. Okay? It's a great group. There's tons of useful information in there, and the people are great. Here's one more comment, and then I'm going to move on to give you more of the material of how to relax and what not to do and what to do. Someone is saying here, struggling with a lack of inspiration. Oh, I read that before, but yes, this method also is going to wake up your creativity, guaranteed. Just like I was saying to the woman from, or man, I can't tell, Glamour. I shouldn't assume that's a woman. Curiosity is the key. And knowing what to do with that curiosity in a way that promotes inspiration, flow, and ease. energetic ease and relaxation, but also it's super energizing. So you're always you know how to get inspired. It's like a switch you can turn on. Chronic pain is never just about the body. If you go to my Facebook group or my timeline, very recently I posted something about pain that's really important. Physical pain is never just about the body. So that's another topic for another video, but I hope you'll find that post and join my mailing list if you're not a member yet, and subscribe to YouTube and all that stuff so that you can find out more about my approach to pain. Many of my students come to me because they are in physical pain, but they all, 100% of them, start to learn very, very quickly that they can relieve their pain. I have students right now whose doctors said that they would never get better, that their pain would never go away, like scoliosis and chronic fatigue syndrome and all kinds of things that they said they were always going to be in pain. Well, my students don't have pain anymore because of using the Art of Freedom method and the things that I teach. So I hope you'll go over there if you have chronic pain. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I want to finish up soon so I don't go on forever. I know people don't really love very long videos, but it's just me. I can't make them super short, apparently. So are you all with me? If you want to just give me a yes. Do you want to know more about this? I was thinking I could just tell you really briefly a little bit about my story and then just summarize the things that I've been saying and give you just a little bit more of what your next steps might be in learning how to relax tension and performance. So great. And yes, you're welcome. Someone just said thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so I've told you that I've been doing meditation my whole life, and yet I still experienced performance anxiety and stage fright. I also have had chronic back pain in the past. It runs in my family. Both my grandfather, my father, and his two siblings all had a spinal anomaly that required surgery. And I think I have that too. So I had a lot of back pain, but I don't have any of it anymore. I was also diagnosed with an essential tremor. So like if I hold my hand out front here, you'll probably see that there's shaking, right? And that's a problem. It can be a problem for a string player. If I'm nervous and I don't know how to deal with it, my bow is going to bounce all over the place and there's nothing I can do about it. It has to do with something in my neck and my nerves, and an essential tremor is just something that I've got. And that was diagnosed in my early 20s. And the good news is that I know how to deal with it. Okay, so if I have too much caffeine, for instance, I actually had a lot of coffee this morning, so it's like worse than usual right now. But I've had the essential tremor, the back pain. I had chronic shoulder and neck pain throughout my childhood and teenage years. And here's the other thing I wanted to say. I always knew that there was something essential missing in my technique. I've performed, by the time I was, well, no, that's not true. I'm not going to say that. But in my life, I have performed at Carnegie Hall 4 times, and I just won an international competition to perform there again next July. That'll be my 5th Carnegie Hall performance. I have performed for some of the best violinists in all of history, including my teacher, Nathan Milstein, Joseph Gingold, 2 of my teachers. I also performed for Yehudi Menuhin at a competition. He was the judge. I've played for the best. And I didn't have performance anxiety until I was in my 20s. And in hindsight, later, after I found the Alexander technique, I could put it into context and realize that my performance anxiety and all the pains that I was having, including shooting pain in my arm, so I couldn't play with my pinky, big problem, right? All of those things were 100% connected to my mindset, my mental attitude, the way I was actually thinking, using my brain to think thoughts, and my emotional state. And for me, one of those huge factors was that I was suppressing my own creativity. But when I was having all these problems over a period of many years, I had no clue. I had no idea that that's what was going on. I was thinking of physical pain in one area. I thought of tension as muscular tension. If I was tight in my body, I thought I had to relax my body. I mean, it seems logical, right? And you probably have thought that way in the past or still do yourself. Does this sound right? Like physical tension is because there's a problem with the body, right? Yes and no, and mostly no. Physical tension is 100% related to how you think and how you make choices in your life, how you decide to move, how you live, and how you think about your instrument, how you think about performing, and how you actually think about practicing. So, just to sum up, you've probably been told when you have too much tension in, say, your shoulder, like if you're a violinist, you probably have, like almost 100% guaranteed you have too much tension in your neck, right? Any violinists out there that have too much tension in their neck? Come on, fess up. Not just violinists either, come on. Do you have too much tension in your neck? Yes, of course you do, you're human. But if you have tension in your neck or your shoulder, what do? You've been told to relax your shoulder, right? Right? Now, does it work? Sure, it works right away, but then does it come back later? Yes. How many times have you been told you have too much tightness in your face? Maybe you make funny faces when you play and you look really angry or something and you don't know how to deal with that. Maybe you try to relax your facial expression and you can in a moment and then it comes back, right? How many years have you been trying to relax and you're still tense? And you're still nervous when you perform. And you still screw up in performance because your mind was wandering. How many times have you tried to relax part of you and it comes back? How many times have you gone to the massage or the chiropractor and the pain comes back and the tension comes back? How many times have you meditated and you still get nervous and screw up in the performance? These things do not work on a fundamental level. They work on a superficial level, and I love massage. It feels great, but it is not going to get to the root of your tension. It's not going to get to the root of your pain, and it's not going to get to the root of your performance anxiety. Sorry, it just won't work. So if you want to know what works, guess what? I'm here. I can tell you. Message me. Truly. I have a coaching program that is phenomenal. It's called The Musician's Advantage. It's a comprehensive coaching program primarily for professionals. So if you really want to get past your technical limitations, I alluded to my sense of feeling like there was always something missing in my technique. Well, that's because of the tension, right? I learned how to have conscious, constructive control over my thinking, my mind, body, self. And now the technical things that I can do now that I couldn't do when I was a teenager, it's just amazing. And I keep getting better, even without practicing. It's just like a miracle. So the Musician's Advantage is my 6-month comprehensive coaching program for professionals. It is at a very high level. It's not like taking lessons. I'll just put it right out there. It's a significant investment for people who are really serious about making fundamental change. And then I also have group programs for all kinds of musicians. So depending on what your interest level is and what your possibilities are, please just message me if you want to find out what could work for you, and I would love to chat with you. So whether you're on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, just send me a comment, okay? And we'll have a little conversation. My email address is jennifer@artoffreedom.me. That's .me. You can email me. If you're on Facebook, you can send me a private message. You can send me a message on my business page or my public timeline. And last but not least, please join my Facebook group if you're not a member yet. It's The Musician's Advantage. And in order to join, I give so much stuff in there that all I ask of you is your email address so that I can send you more good stuff through email. Please share this information if you found it useful and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And thank you so much for being here. I'm just going to hop onto the comments one more time and then I'll say goodbye. Here I have a comment. I think the tension comes from the fact that I practice so hard to improve and reach a very high level of musicianship. Yes, due to the fact that I aspire to such a level, it actually makes practicing painful. Practicing should be enjoyable, not painful. I really hope you'll reach out to me so that I can help you personally. It should not be like that. And you should not be practicing so hard. If you're practicing too hard, you need to learn how to practice smarter. My method helps you to practice better and get more done more efficiently, more effectively in less time with less work and less effort. You want to learn how to do everything that you're doing in your practicing, in your performance, in how you walk down the street with less and less and less tension and more conscious awareness and ease. That's what you really want. I want you to get out of pain. Pain is not fun and it gets in the way of music. And music should be fun and enjoyable and heartwarming. So yes, don't work so hard. Message me. Okay, here's someone who says, I've been working on that for the last 3 days. Exactly. It comes back after a few days. People go through a lifetime, and I'm not exaggerating. There is research. There was an Australian study done some years ago on orchestral musicians, and it was like more than 80%. I think it was maybe even in the 90% that like 90-some% of musicians, orchestra musicians, are in pain. And it shouldn't be like that. My goodness. So most musicians have the problems that we're talking about, and they just don't know how to solve the big picture because they haven't been taught. I wasn't taught. I stumbled on all of this because I had neck pain and I found an Alexander Technique teacher. And then I took it to the next level. I mean, you can go to Alexander lessons, but what I do is something much more comprehensive, and it takes into account how you uniquely play your instrument. And I teach hands-free so that you don't become dependent on a teacher touching you because they're not going to be in your house later. So you want to know exactly what to do for yourself. You want to be in charge and you want to know how to solve your problem on your own at home. So I teach all of my students very, very simple things that they need to practice. I require that they practice something called awareness etudes just for a few minutes every day, and they are guaranteed progress. If you try this with me, I guarantee that if you do the little things I suggest to you, you will make progress and you will feel better much sooner. Okay, yes, someone says I do actually, and the tension grows as I focus more. Absolutely. What you focus on, you get more of, and your tension will increase if you pay attention to it. And this is the first thing that I teach. I teach my students how to discern, how to distinguish between tension in the body and ease and flow in the body. Most people have not been taught how to do that. Okay? It's a natural process. It's very easy. It's very simple. What I teach is so easy to learn. It's incredibly ridiculously simple and easy to learn. And I can teach it to you so fast. But what's not so easy is to remember to do it and to practice it over time, because our habits of practicing with tension are very strong, and our habits of over-focusing, which causes tension, are very, very, very strong. We think that focusing and concentrating is good. It actually increases tension. You need to learn how to focus and concentrate with ease and openness and freedom. That's another topic for another day too. Okay, great. Diana, hello. I'm so glad you're here. Diana is saying, wow, I really needed this, especially wrist tension. Yeah, it's not about your wrist. I'm telling you, it'll show up in your wrist, but it's not about your wrist. You will undo the tension here if you learn how to take care of the whole self, and when you have a system to, address mind, body, spirit, purpose, artistry, all those things at once. And again, it's super fast and easy to do that. You just have to have the system. Okay, so on that happy note, thank you everybody so much for being here today. I hope this was helpful and useful. You know where to find me. I am so open and ready to talk to anybody about any of this. Just message me. And if you want to know more about the Musician's Advantage private coaching program, I do have some openings for the coming month. I don't know how many openings I'm going to have. And so it might be a good idea to reach out to me soon. Make sure you can get a spot. It is by application, and it's for people who really want to learn this. So reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. Okay. Tisha says, I love how this helps everything, not just your music. Yes. Thanks, Tisha. Thank you, everybody. Be well and lots of love. Enjoy your music. And please learn how to relax in performance, because there's nothing more fulfilling on earth for you and your audience. Bye-bye.